Gracie and I have hiked back into the jungle here on a trail to see if we can get some pretty footage in 4K. Recently discovered that my camera, or my phone, has 4K camera in it. Didn't realize that before. Say hi, Gracie.
Hi.
And so we hiked back in here to see what it can do. And we're going to continue testing it out and find out if it's even worth it to invest in something more at this point. Me being new to YouTube and learning how to do virtually everything. I've never really put a lot of thought into photography or videography in the past, and everything was okay already, you know, and as long as you captured something on film for memory's sake, it was good enough. But with YouTube, you need to be competitive with some interesting content, so having a good quality picture is part of that, and then knowing how to take advantage of the places you have to film. So that's what we're going to focus on and try to at least put something out, not for the sake of putting it out, but because it's interesting. And sometimes it's the more simple things that interest me, like some of the rural indigenous people here would be very interesting for me to visit and see how they live and so forth. And the more rural, the better. The more they have to live off the land around them, the more interesting it is for me. And of course, I don't necessarily want to do that myself. I want to take advantage of both living sustainably, but also and efficiently, but also having some comforts of home. I really enjoy my air conditioning, of course, and having refrigeration and not having to make all my food from scratch. But I also don't like to waste and to just throw throw money in commercial products at everything. So a lot of interesting things to film locally here, and then we'll branch out to some of the more beautiful places like some of the beach islands and so forth. So we're going to take a walk back. We'll give you a look at the trail here and get Gracie back home because she is tired and hot and sweaty. We'll go get cooled off and get something to drink. But I'm pretty impressed with the difference in the test video that I did this morning. And it definitely seems to have a little better clarity. And if I learn how to either use the settings that are on the phone or maybe download an app that controls the settings easier, I might be able to get some pretty good footage out of this thing. And it may negate the need to even buy like a GoPro or a Sony of some sort. Or I was looking at the DJI Osmo Action 3. I was looking at the GoPro Hero 11 Black. I was looking at Sony ZV-1 and the Sony ZV-E10, and then the Sony HDR AX43, and then Nikon has a Z30. I kind of liked that one also. And then there's a Canon equivalent to some of those mirrorless cameras that I mentioned already. I think it's maybe an R10 or something like that, R something. And so they're all $1,000 and under, so they're not professional quality, but if you know what you're doing, you can take advantage of their features and get some great footage that most people won't notice a difference in. So I'm a newbie, so I just need to get the most out of my iPhone for now and utilize it as part of sustainable living. And you know, the whole theme behind the move from the States was family first, of course. My wife's family, we want to know them. My kids want to know them, and especially Lolo and Lola before their days are over. And I'm about 10 years away from official retirement, and we had enough savings to make it until then if we don't live too luxuriously. We took care of property, and we have the farm for a source of income to take care of our basic needs. If we manage that properly, it'll pay all of our bills, including our food. And we don't really have any bills other than we pay a couple $100s a month at times for electricity because we have air con, and that's a must for me, especially at nighttime when I'm sleeping. It's very difficult for me to sleep when I'm sweating. So but even in the daytime it's even hotter, of course. I like to have aircon going, so that's what I consider a necessity for me here. The food differences they're doable. There's a limited amount of variety you're going to get here, but once you find the products that are to your liking, you're fine. You can make some really good stuff and not miss a beat there. My wife's a really good cook, so 99% of the things that she's made me have been outstanding. And she seems to nail new recipes the very first try. And so anyways, the whole purpose of moving here was to avoid the high cost of food in the States. And Catherine cooks most things from scratch, so that really helps. And we source out the least expensive ways to keep ourselves in meat, and ultimately we're going to grow our own. It makes sense because you can actually make money off of it if you sell piglets and so forth. It pays for the cost of the feeds, and I'm going to use a Zola where I'm not even putting out much to begin with. So and we'll utilize some other plants and crops to further supplement it. But yeah, the whole idea was to be more sustainable and make do. And if a guy can deliver my lumber for my animal pens on a motorcycle, thousands of pounds worth of lumber, then I could probably get the most out of my iPhone that has 4K video in it without buying an expensive camera. And just imagine what a Filipino could do with this iPhone. And probably do. They just put more effort into things and bring out the best quality they can from it. Somewhere around here is my father-in-law's parcel of land. I think it's somewhere right here. He's got a chunk of property back here behind our house. She's a little hot and wore out. Dad took her a little farther than he probably should have. I don't know if that's a papaya tree or what, but it's beautiful. A couple of them. But yeah, so a lot of those cameras that I mentioned are probably not going to do much more than what I already have. So it may be that I just use this for a while, and I didn't start YouTube because I thought I'm all that interesting of a person or could outdo anybody else. I just wanted to have a way for my friends and family to see what we're up to here and to show off a little bit of the beauty of the Philippines. and get something going. And then if I do learn things, there's a big old patch of bamboo that's about 80 foot tall, and it's about 5-6 inches in diameter. But if I get better at doing things, maybe I can create some interesting content that people want to watch. And I do appreciate all the support I've got so far. Everybody's been great at helping me get rolling. And I appreciate the 100+ subscribers that have subscribed since we started just 3-4 weeks ago, whenever it was. At this rate, we're probably not going to get to 1,000 in a year, but that's up to me. I need to throw some content out that people want to watch, and then get it promoted to where people know it's there. So I'll do that, but I'm going to wait until I have things a little more figured out before I start trying to promote it. No sense in putting out subpar quality and then drawing everybody in only to go, what? So I'm going to put some effort into learning and doing my part, and then get creative in what I like to film, which is a lot of rural kind of stuff out in the province. And some of my projects and stuff can be interesting if they're filmed correctly. And so we're going to work on that aspect of it. And then when I feel that I have a series of videos that are promotable, then I'll start promoting it and trying to draw in an audience on that basis. And if it turns into something that supplements our income, great. It's not a necessity for me. I don't really ever see myself being highly competitive on YouTube, just simply because it's not my thing. I'm not all that creative in the arts, so to speak. I'm kind of a all facts and no fluff kind of person. I don't make an interesting speaker, but if you want to know the facts, I can give them to you. And that's what I like too. I like somebody that knows what they're talking about. And if I do have an interest in something that's more than just a mild interest, I do know a lot about it and put a lot of effort into it, but I'm not sure that I'm interested enough in photography and videography to try to outdo some of the very talented people that are on there nowadays and are drawing a huge audience. So it was never a thing where I wanted to make money off of it, but if you don't ever start, you're never going to go anywhere with it. So if I have some interesting things to film, I can start by sharing it with my family, and then if I have something that people like and it draws in a lot of views and subscriptions, then why not make a little money off of it if you can? And so being in the Philippines and living in a rural area, so farming is probably one of the better ways to do it. And wait for Gracie to catch up. She's pooping out. Farming is one of those, and YouTube is another potential way to make a little money. Ad revenues harder to make money off of nowadays, but there's other ways you can utilize it to advertise stuff to your local subscribers and show everybody what you're doing and what you have to offer. And you can I'm not big on asking for donations, but There's a lot of people that make a lot of money off of donations or even get products donated and so forth. So little things go a long way in the Philippines. So if I made $100 a month off of YouTube and enjoyed doing it along the way, then why not? So that's kind of the plan. And so in moving here to the Philippines, my family and I, we're a family. I'm not a single guy looking for a party scene or anything like that. So living out in a rural area is an option for me. Having property, having a house already built and paid for, just all around is going to be less expensive than living in one of the major cities. The rents have really gone up in major cities. When I was here in Subic, you could get a room, a furnished room with air conditioning for less than $20 a month in a large city, Subic Bay or Olongapo. And nowadays you're probably looking at $400 a month minimum, and then if you wanted something nice, you might even pay $1,000 a month for a nice apartment. And a lot of the people that do move here to the Philippines are barely able to afford that. So a lot of guys that move here are wanting to move here to maximize their retirement, and usually they're not family men. So, but if you are somebody that would like to move here, the way we did it is probably the least expensive and the most sustainable. Having your own house, and then doing it in a rural area where land is, I mean, you could buy a piece of property to build a house on for $1,000 in some cases, maybe $5,000. Get you a real nice piece of your choice. You get into some of the more built up areas, you might pay $20,000 for a piece of property near a city. So if you're interested in moving to the Philippines, maybe you have a girlfriend here already. If your girlfriend's from a rural area, I would take advantage of it and look at the option of having her source some property, maybe some farmland and a building lot, and doing it that way. So you have a foundation built before you get here, and not having any bills other than your electricity is a big deal. We considered doing solar, and some of our friends have just recently done it. The husband is from the United States. He's American also, and it looks like they've done it fairly inexpensively, a lot less expensive than I thought it would be. And if it works out well enough for them, we'll ask them how it's going, and if they had to make any changes going forward. And if it looks good, then I might go ahead and do that too, and that'll knock off. We'll be paying cash out front, but it should pay for itself in just over a year and a half or so, around a year and a half to 2 years. And as long as the system lasts for 10 plus years or so, that's more money that you're saving. So we may look at that real soon. It also helps when you have brownouts and so forth. There's definitely frequent brownouts where we're at, but it's not so often that it's a major problem. Probably the biggest inconvenience for us will be that I just got an egg incubator, so I'm going to hatch some eggs from our chickens when they start laying. Probably buy some fertile eggs and test it out so I know what I'm doing by the time our chickens are laying. But you got to have constant power to that. It has a dual power source, so I can get a 12-volt battery, some kind of a charging system for it, either solar or just a float charger, that, because the brownouts usually don't last long enough where we deplete a battery, you know, for an incubator. Sometimes they'll do a shut off in order to upgrade the power lines and poles, they've widened the road and went to some different poles that they had to move and so forth. And sometimes those will last for like 12 hours or so. 10, 12 hours in a day. So that's really the longest brownouts. The ones that occur as a result of weather or some kind of a overload or something, usually are fixed fairly quickly. And everything's been a lot better here than I thought. It's not nearly as hot as I thought it was going to be. It is hot, but when I was in Subic, I remember it being unbearably hot, and it hasn't felt that way to me so far. So I don't know if I've changed, or just living in a rural area, it's not as hot. The brownouts aren't nearly as inconvenient as I thought they'd be. Yeah, if you're in the middle of something like uploading or editing a video or watching a program or something, it's a little inconvenient, but since I'm retired at this point and don't have to be anywhere, I've got time, so that makes it a lot better. If I didn't have time and I was rushing around already, it would be real inconvenient. But I like the Filipino lifestyle where, while they're very hard workers, they don't have that rush around mentality like Europeans do. Europeans have got their noses to the grindstone 24/7, trying to maximize everything, and they forget to slow down a little bit and enjoy life. And that's one of the benefits of moving here, is we get to learn from people that know how to do both. In reality, we talk about working hard in the States, but I've got some footage from a family outing we did yesterday where the banana plantations, the cornfields are literally on the side of a very steep slope, probably greater than 45 degrees. And I can't even imagine getting up to them, let alone getting the work done on them. I mean, that's just insane. And so you can imagine how tough some of these men are that do that. And the neighbor that I hired to dig the Azolla pond is absolutely ripped. He looks like he has been working out his whole life, and he has, by working hard, not by lifting weights. So, yeah, you probably don't want to mess with some of these guys. They're very strong. Some of my family-in-laws are hard workers that work on the banana plantation, and they're the same way. We went on a hike with them one time, and I had just eaten too much for lunch and timed it very poorly, where I was about ready to throw up halfway up the mountain. And I was the last one to the top, not because I can't handle the mountains. I can, even when I'm overweight. I can hike through the mountains all day long with a backpack on still to this day, but not with a full belly where I ate too much and where the heat and humidity is as high as it is here. So yeah, trying to compete with the guys that do some of these farming jobs here, you know, on vertical slopes or just working out in the heat and humidity all day long, doing manual labor. These are strong guys, and you know, a lot of people in the Philippines are slight of stature as compared to the Europeans, but I guarantee you that about 90% of them would make quick work of any of us. Very strong, very agile and quick, and we wouldn't stand a chance hand to hand. Yeah, so anyways, so that's kind of why we decided to move here. Just the timing was right. Things in the USA were, with the inflation rate and the political environment, were less than ideal. Let's go this way, Gracie. And everything worked out where we wanted to get to know our family here and have our children spend time with their Lola and Lolo and cousins and aunties and uncles, and so that's what we're doing. And they get to know them and still have the benefit of being able anytime they want when they grow up of going back to the States. And so it's a win-win. And we're back to where we started at the beginning of the walk. So I will let you guys go, but I really appreciate the support I've got, and I wanted to give a shout out to the Sound of the Philippines YouTube channel. That is a German-Filipino couple, and I messaged her and she gave me some tips for getting started on YouTube and what equipment to use and so forth, and I really appreciate that. And everybody else who subscribed and watched and commented. So thank you very much, and we'll try to improve things going forward. Have a good day.